Hi, I'm Rebekah Ricks here at the Homeschool Connection, where our goal is to connect home and school. And I'm here with our weekly show, The Brew. And The Brew is a mixture of people, events, or things that come together to form a more potent whole. And we want to make your whole a whole lot better. So today we're going to be talking about how to make sure, what does your preschooler really need? And I have to say, I just recently went to the Homeschool convention here in Central Florida. It was in Orlando, so it's supposedly, well, they bill themselves as the largest convention, homeschool convention. And it was pretty big, there's a ton, but I have to say I have a 7-month-old and I almost got sucked into the vortex of preschool curriculum. There is so much cool stuff out there. I mean, cool stuff, cool preschool stuff that you can do. All kinds of curriculums, I'm telling you, and they're expensive, super expensive. And I was there, I really wanted to buy, even though my child will not be able to use that in over a year. My 7-month-old wouldn't be able to, but man, there was so much cool preschool stuff out there for homeschoolers. So, and for you at, if you're sending them for preschool or different things, there's a ton, so many awesome resources. But the thing is, they can be really expensive. And sometimes we can't always afford those great things. As much as we would like to, they don't always work. So what does your preschooler really need? So there's a really awesome article. I think it's actually a Huffington Post article that we're going to post on the blog. And it started with things that your preschooler really needs. Food, you know, they do need to eat. And what type of food they need and things like that. And so it cracked me up a little bit. And I thought, well, duh, they need all those things. So I'm going to kind of focus on what does your preschooler need to get ready for kindergarten. Okay, so if we're getting ready, I talked a little bit earlier, an earlier podcast about, or not a podcast, an earlier Facebook Live video, whatever this thing is called, an earlier Facebook Live video about kindergarten readiness. So in the state of Florida, if you are going into a public school, you have to have a kindergarten readiness test. It's about a 15-minute test, and they will tell you if you're on track for kindergarten, you know these certain things you need to know, guide points and different things. If you go to a private school or you're homeschooled, you can request to get one done, and you can get one done several different places. There's locations around to make sure, so kindergarten readiness. So let's say, man, I do want to know if my child is ready for school, but I don't want to go do a test and wait in line. It's like going to the doctor. It takes a whole lot of time and effort just to get it done. So I kind of went through and thought, well, what do preschoolers really need? What skills do they have to know for kindergarten? Well, first thing I really think is really important is how to write their name. So if they can't write anything else, how to write their first and last name, that's always helpful. So if you're teaching them, trace it, different things, how to write their name, you know, with an uppercase, capitalize the first letter, do some lower cases, you can really work on them writing their name. But the big thing before you can do this is to have a 3-finger pencil grip. So I am left-handed, so of course I didn't bring a pencil. A 3-finger pencil grip like this. Make sure they can pencil grip pencils, crayons, that they know how to grip a pencil. Okay, so sometimes if you can tell if they're not ready to write, if they're still writing like this when they color, they should naturally stop writing like this and start to slowly hold a pencil. Sometimes they'll hold it here, and sometimes you have to help them. Help them use, find their dominant hand they color with, and kind of tilt that crayon. Help them with a we call it a 3-finger grip. So 1 on the bottom, 2 on the top, 3-finger grip. Actually, right here, I have a little callus on my finger where my pencil sits. A 3-finger grip. If they're having a hard time with that, you can get pencil grips to kind of help them put their finger where it is. It just gives you a little more control when you're writing, something that you can work on them. You know, counting, usually we would say count to 30, you know, before or after. back and forth, be able to count to 20 or 30. Even if they may not really understand the concept of place value, they can count to 30. Know the letters maybe in their first name. So, when you have, Rebekah, Rebekah, know that this is that, when you point to that, what letter is that E? They don't have to know all their letters, but to know some of them, kind of know what they are. We want them to be able to identify shapes. Is that a rectangle, square, oval, circle, heart, diamond? It makes me think of those. I wonder if anybody else had those. The circle things, and they were blue and red, and you pull it apart and the little pieces fell out and you could put them all in. I don't know if they even make those anymore, but that was an awesome toy. I remember playing with that a lot and putting the shapes in the different sides. So we want them to know their shapes. We want them to be able to know colors, your basic colors: red, orange, yellow, blue, green, black, white. When you see the numbers 1 through 10, can they identify the numbers 1 through 10? So maybe count to 30, but if you show them the number 3, what is this? 3. Those are things they can kind of do. And identify most letters, names, sounds. Now, they don't have to know them all because they will teach them to them in kindergarten, but it's nice if they know them. Another thing that is kind of, I've noticed is a big thing on the school readiness list is called touch counting. Okay, what's touch counting? You can touch and count, pick up and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, and put it on the page. Especially an easy way to tell is pennies. Touch, count, pennies, touch, count, squares, whatever it is you're doing, help them count different things. It's called touch counting, but they're actually using their finger to touch and push. Okay. Again, that's a fine motor skill that we want to make sure they have. Holding a pencil and touch counting, using one finger to accurately count stuff. We also want them to this is kind of an interesting one. It's called tracking, that they understand that words on a page go from left to right. So when you read, it starts here and goes this way, and starts here and goes this way. And that a book goes from the front page to the back. So when you open a book, it starts at the front and you go this way. Okay, so if you are if you're dyslexic, I always thought I had a really hard time with this because I would start on this side of the page and go that way. Actually, I would start at the bottom and go up. So I guess we would think, oh, that's common sense. But, as they're playing with books or different things, where's the front of the book? Oh, it opens this way and it starts up here and goes this way down your page. That's a skill. That's a skill they need. And we might not even think about that. Well, they just might pick it up normally. But when I first started to read, I could read words in context, but then they would give it to me on a page. I read it, I'm left-handed. I didn't want to go this way. I wanted to go the opposite way. And I wanted to start at the bottom for some reason. So just to help make sure that you can do that, the concept. We want them to be able to rhyme words. Some kids can't hear the rhyming words, the letters, but rhyme words, work on that. And maybe even another thing is to tell them a story and then have them retell you the story. So we do want them to be able to sequence events. If I told a story, so what happened first? This is what happened. What happened second? This is what happened. What happened third? This is what happened in the story. Of course, preschoolers, little kids will add more details that they feel are relevant. And I think that's the best part of talking to a little one, because they tell you more details, interesting details that interest for them. Also, they have to be able to, this goes without saying, but be able to use the restroom independently, adjust their clothes, understand all that, practice if they're going to kindergarten to a class, all those things, be able to sit for a time, those things, share, all those things socially we work on, and really work on following directions that are 2 or 3 minutes long. Longer than 2 or 3 minutes are kind of some good points for it. So how can I help my child? What are some things I can do to help my child get ready? My preschooler. So they may seem little, so I'm counting with them. We can count, we can point track. Go a lot of places with your preschooler. Take them out, let them experience things. The beach, the park, the zoo, airports even, farms and lakes. Play I Spy. You know, while you're riding in the car or someplace, what do you spy? Okay, that helps with shapes and colors, and it even will help with vocabulary and learn different things. You know, I spy something red. Okay, where is it? If you were going even to the zoo, sit at the park and play I Spy. What do you see? Also have conversations with little ones. I love having conversations with, ours are little learners here, but they have great things to tell you. But when you talk to them, the more you talk to them, the greater their vocabulary will be. So that's something you can do. Reading to them will really, really help them. Reading to them daily. So if you're reading a book before you go to bedtime, or you're reading a chapter book, or whatever you are, the more you read to them, the more they hear those words and understand. And then while you're reading, point, okay, I'm starting here and we're going here. Here's the words. I remember my brother is 14 months younger than I am, and we would read a book. I would read a book to him, and it was Dr. Seuss, Red Fish, Blue Fish, Green Fish. I had the whole book memorized, and I could read it. I was really proud of that. And I would do this with my finger, red, blue, and I was like little bitty. So even that, teaching them how to read something, you can learn little words. So the more you read to them daily, the more you can point how your finger goes. Now, I always thought that it went the opposite way. So that wasn't easy. I tracked the wrong way, but anything. And, you know, of course, we all like to be praised. We all like to be told how wonderful we are, even when we're little. So praising them for things that they can do, learning, building. So take your everyday activities and make it a learning experience. Make it fun. Driving in the car to the grocery store, you're driving through the grocery store. This is a bag of potato chips. What letter does it start with? B. Your name starts, so we're gonna have a hard time because Elliot starts with an E. And so Elliot, oh look, there's eggs. Your name starts with the same letter as eggs. Things like that. You can always make up little fun things. Just making sure your preschooler is ready to go. What do they need? And you know, play a lot. We used to have a kindergarten teacher that worked for us. She was actually our Polk County Teacher of the Year one year. Phenomenal, great. And I would ask her, so what's your big thing you think they should do for kindergarten? What should you do? And she goes, you know, play with them a lot. Do a lot of fun play. Let them experience a lot of things for preschoolers. So when they come in, they know what a lot of things are. Sand, textures, different things, and find out what they're interested in and really push those kind of things. So hopefully that was a little bit helpful. What do they really need before they get into kindergarten? If you're working on those things, enjoying, and enjoy your little one, because I am thoroughly enjoying my little one right now. Just enjoy it. And as you're doing, learn those different things. Work on those few things that you can, because they're little sponges. They want to learn, they want to please you, they want to help you. If you like this video, of course, I'm going to do the typical, if you can like it and share it. We have a lot of people view it, like and share it. We're also on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all of those social medias. And don't forget, you're not alone. If you have a problem or a question about anything educational, don't forget you're not alone. We're here to help. And we have lots of words of wisdom, hopefully, that we can pass on or help you if you have a question on something educational. So I look forward to seeing you on Friday morning with Your Brew. So I'm going to finish my cup of coffee here and hope you all have a great night.